You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to a team that wrote the Great Rescue, GRAYSON'S story, benefiting PugHearts of Houston. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thanks for being on the podcast. So on the podcast, we have Heather, who is the author, Michaela, who was the illustrator, and Christina, who's with PugHearts. So why don't we start with Christina and tell us a little bit about PugHearts of Houston and Grayson.
Hi, so PugHearts of Houston is a true nonprofit, and it's an organization that rescues pugs. And as you will find out if you purchase this book, An Occasional Frenchie, it's a rescue that is completely volunteer-based, so nobody gets paid. And to date, we have rescued over 4,000 pugs. And of course, we service not only the Houston area, but all of Texas, Louisiana, and Colorado. So you asked about Grayson.
Yes.
Grayson is a true miracle and has become a bit of a mascot almost of PugHearts, which is a little ironic because he is a French bulldog. But let me take you back to when we first got him. So this is October of 2020, and I got a phone call from the director of the organization because I had volunteered to take in this French bulldog that we were getting. Well, between me volunteering for him and this phone call, there was a medical exam where he was given 1 week to live.
Ugh.
And so she was asking me to make sure that this was something I was actually down for still, because I had previously lost a French bulldog to cancer, and this was very hard because they look extremely alike, and we knew we were going to take him just to lose him. But at that point, I had committed, and I said, we will make it work, and we will see what we can do for him to make the end great for him, because he was sadly dumped at a shelter by his owners that got him to the condition that he was in, and he was scheduled for euthanasia that day. So 2 days later, he got transported to Houston because we had to wait for him to get stable enough. And we started our journey, and I remember being very unsettled about the whole situation, thinking about how much neglect and abuse this poor dog had lived through, and now he had 1 week. How am I ever going to make up for all that's happened to him? And that's how we came up with the bucket list. And I thought, okay, well, we may only have a week, but it's going to be the greatest week of this dog's life. And so we started taking him to the beach and taking him to a ranch where he got kissed by a wild pony, and to a friend's house that has a giant tortoise that he unfortunately peed on. And it just continued going, and so did he. And just when we reached that week, I saw like a glimpse of hope in him. And at that point, I was spoon feeding him, and we were not entirely certain that he was even getting enough calories to sustain himself, because he had no will to live. At the beginning, we were spoon feeding him. We were changing soft foods constantly, and he began to flourish and became interested in toys and just how much of a miracle he is, because the condition that he has is heart failure. It's irreversible. It's not treatable. There's only management. And this is the same for people. There's no treatment for heart failure. And about 80% of dogs pass away within 14 months of being diagnosed with heart failure.
From the heartworms, right? Which is preventative.
We believe that it was compounded by the heartworms. It is possible that he has some sort of a congenital heart defect because he is a very young dog with heartworms. However, we have other in the rescue that have also had irreversible damage done by heartworms in young age. So without a CT scan, we truly can't say for sure, but it certainly didn't help. And because of his condition, he cannot go under, so we cannot do that diagnostic for him. But we have no idea how long he has been in heart failure prior to coming to the rescue, because he came to us in a very advanced stage. Yet he's been with us for 2.5 years now, and it's wild to say, but he's still thriving.
So tell us about the book, The Great Rescue, Grayson's Story.
Sure. So we have, just some background. Definitely not an author by trade. Actually, the first book that I have ever done. But we connected with PugHearts and learned of Grayson's story, and of course, Christina and the care that she was given to Grayson as they kicked off Grayson's bucket list. Started following that and truly realized what a miracle Grayson was. I mean, he was defying the odds, and pretty swiftly too, but it came with a lot of love, and we wanted to figure out a way to, one, get back to PugHearts because we are huge PugHearts fans, to help them raise money to help other dogs, but also for Grayson's story to be told. He is King Grayson, known as King Grayson. But what really inspired us was Grayson's story shares so much. I mean, it really should be in every house in the world, just not for children, but adults too. And when we started putting together everything that Grayson had done, what his story teaches us or reminds us of every day, we went through that, when all hope felt lost, he never gave up. He is the definition of miracles do happen. How amazing people all over the world came together. I think he has a wardrobe at Christina's house to show that. Just random acts of kindness, the huge positive impact. Even how important a bucket list is to even us humans, right? Babies with or without fur, bucket list is so important to experience life. And just in his darkest days, he didn't give up. And that unconditional love he felt from Christina and others around him gave him the will to fight. And I mean, his story is pretty remarkable. And should be shared. And all of it was because PugHearts took a chance to give him hope in his final days, knowing that where he was, his story is just to us should have been told. And Michaela and I set out to say, how can we tell it? Let's make sure Christina's okay. He is King Grayson. He should live on in people's households. And she was all on board. And that journey started. And everything just seemed to fall into place for us. Even Red Ribbit coming and helping us with publishing. So it was just a miracle. We pulled it to none of us by trade working in that field, but we were able to pull it together, and even past the donations that it helps with, 100% of the profits going to PugHearts. Just hoping his story inspires others, one, to take care of your dogs. They have feelings. And two, to remember that if Grayson doesn't give up, none of us should.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So that's sort of the background.
And so obviously you must have a pug.
Yes, we do.
So as you were following the story, is that then when you reached out to Christina and said, let's make this a book? About a year into his journey. So we started when Grayson was on the mend up, because we knew his care cost. We wanted to get people together to fight for Grayson. And Christina's been such a great partner. We were like, can we do shirts? So we did Grayson Warrior shirts, and that went over well. And then Grayson's face ended up on many shirts across the world, actually, to support Grayson.
And then as his journey continued and he celebrated his anniversary, we thought, how do we tell his story? And that's where the book idea came in.
Wonderful. Michaela, do you want to discuss anything about illustrating the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So I sat down one day and I just created the cover picture from a picture that I saw of Grayson. And then all of the other pictures just started kind of falling into place. And then as we got deeper into his bucket list and the pages going through his bucket list and all of the things he did, Christina helped send us actual photos. So all of the photos that are actually in the book are real life photos that have a real life photo attached to them. So you'll see pictures of Christina holding Grayson, and you can actually see some of those real photos.
The link for Amazon. So everybody, because we have had people internationally disappointed that they couldn't get the pre-order, but they will be able to get the book on Amazon after April 15th. And we will also have a couple of extra physical copies with the paw print at the yearly Houston Dog Show, as well as our biggest fundraiser of the year in October called Pugs on the Bayou. So those are the ways to get the book. And every way you decide to get the book, PugHearts gets 100% of the profit. And I just want to thank Heather and Michaela so much for putting so much time and love into the book and giving back to the rescue, because it has been very, very successful. And definitely a shout out to Red Ribbit, just to get that out there. Holly Moore is an adopter. She adopted one of my fosters, and she happens to be writing a book about her. And I asked her for guidance on publishing Grayson's book, and we got zero guidance. She just went and took over and took care of everything from A to Z and donated an incredible amount of her time and got us over the finish line. So the event for launch is April 15th at Toddy Oaks in Katy.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I'll put all the information in the show notes. I thank
Perfect.
you all for being on the podcast and doing this wonderful, event
Awesome.
And actual book for Grayson. So thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to having you all back.
No, you guys.
Yes, thank you for having us.
All of you. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.